Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how I created this toothless model. I'm going to show you the process of sculpting, 3D printing, and painting. I created this model in Nomad Sculpt, and once I was happy with how it was looking, I spliced the model into 7 different sections and then sent it to print. So this is how it looks after cleaning and printing. So after the model was printed and then cleaned, I did end up sanding down a lot of it just to make sure that the pegs fitted properly. And usually with 3D sculpts or 3D prints, you do have to do this, because usually they can get warped or a bit misaligned during the printing process, so it's always good to double check, make sure everything fits. And then I did decide to combine the upper and lower body just because it wasn't fitting quite right. So for painting, I started off with a black surface primer. And since Toothless is a black dragon, it makes sense to use black surface primer. And then I'm just using some gray just to build up some highlights and to try to add a little bit of lightness to the model. And for the next step, I'm basically just trying to build up some of the skin tones by using red. So one thing if you notice, despite the fact that Toothless is a black dragon, if you look at reptiles in real life, you'll notice that even if they're black, they don't tend to just be a solid black. They'll usually have a lot of green or brown or red. So for this, I am adding some very bright red to mainly the nose, the eyes. So pretty much to make the skin look a bit more lively and realistic, I was adding a lot of reds and browns. And the purpose of this is just to make it look, again, more lively, and for the black not to be so flat. Because one of the biggest issues with black is that it can sometimes look too flat or just too one-dimensional. So I'm just going in with some very bright reds to try to liven everything up. And although the red may look super bright right now, I am planning on going over it with other colors, so I'll dull it out a bit. And I'm pretty much just hitting the areas that are going to be either like the skin's going to be thin or where a lot of light is going to hit the muzzle, around the eyes and the lids. And again, you want a very subtle color, so it's important to do very light coats. So the reference for this iteration of Toothless is from the live action movie. So I did try to go for a little bit more of like a realistic paint job on the skin. I did notice that Toothless, he does seem to have a lot of like iridescence in the scales. So I did add some greens and turquoise just to get that effect. And so like the black is a bit more interesting because one of the issues I had when I was filming was that the black was looking super black. It was looking so dark. It was blending in with everything. So I did go a little bit lighter just so like it would pop a bit more and be like a little bit more visually interesting. And then again, I just went in with more of like a muddy, kind of earthy brown. And then for this technique, I'm adding very like thinned down paints, and then I'm just taking a makeup brush and removing the excess. Because this model is so heavily textured with the scales, this actually worked really well. And then I basically just did a whole bunch of layers of this to build it up. And then I did the same thing with the wings, although I am doing the wings a reddish kind of brown color, but you still want the highlights to be there. And then I just dry brushed some white onto mainly the nostrils and the brow bridge, just like to really drive up some highlights. And then for this character, I would say the eyes are probably the most important area. So I did want the color to be very bold and vivid, so I made sure not to thin down my paints at all. And for this, I'm just using a mid-green for the base, and then I'm just going to build up the colors by adding a lot of high, like very light greens, and like a lot of low, like dark greens, just to build up contrast. I'm just doing very, very tiny, thin brush strokes. And the key to if you're not going to thin down your paints is that you want to have like a little bit of paint on your paintbrush. And again, I'm just going over with some very bright yellow, and again, just to like add some highlights. Oh yeah, and then for like everything, I'm just using all like acrylic paints. So at first, I did use a clear coat, like a glossy coat, but the eyes were not glossy enough in my opinion. So I did end up using a clear coat nail polish for like UV. So the ones where you have to like set with the UV light. It really gave that like nice glossy eye effect. Also with the nail stuff, it's thicker, so it blends everything a bit better, like on the eyes. Because I wasn't too happy with the gloss finish. I wanted something more glossier. And just using the same technique with piling it on and then just brushing off the excess with the makeup brush. And this worked really, really well for this sort of figure because of the high amount of like texture on the body from the scales. So it did work really nicely. Sometimes if your figure's too smooth, it won't really work that well, but in this case it did. And again, like when you look at like his wings, you'll notice like they're kind of reddish brownish. So I did do like some really, really bright red, and I wasn't too worried about it being too bright because I was planning on going with darker colors and like more muted reds afterwards to dull it down a bit. And then I'm just going over it with some very, very light or very, very washed down like black, and again just like to build it. Normally you would do this with a airbrush, but I wasn't like too honestly, like I'm not too confident in my airbrushing skills yet to be trying to do all those like smaller details, so I just did it with a brush. And then now for the base. So the base, I don't know if you can tell, but it's based off of, those Viking helms? Like they'll have the sea serpent or dragon like on the top of like the ship, like where the helm is. Yeah, that's what this is supposed to like be based off of. Usually like they're made out of wood, I think. So for this one, I wanted basically just to make it like wood. So I was again adding like a lot of dark browns, a bit of lighter browns, and doing very like short strokes on the paintbrush just to kind of give it that like woody texture and woody feel. Honestly, I didn't spend too much time on the base, but I was happy enough with how it turned out. And then his like little tail feather thing, it's a lot more, like it's not as bright in comparison to the like animation. So I kind of try to copy that a bit, but I wanted mine to be like a bit more redder. So I did try to keep, the red color. And again, just doing very like light washes to build up that color, build up the highlights. And then lastly, I'm assembling it. So just using like super glue, gluing everything together, making sure it all fits. Honestly though, I kind of wish I would have did this before I painted it so that I could have, like, just so like you wouldn't see the seams. The reason why I didn't was because I didn't want to lose texture in the scales. But looking back, I think I would have maybe preferred a little bit loss of texture and then had like the seams not be so obvious, because especially like where the wings and like the neck is, you do notice the seams. This is the final product. Yeah, I mean, overall, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Like I said, I wish I would have spent more time hiding the seams. Overall, I think I like how it turned out. If you liked how it turned out too, leave a like, subscribe. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.